Alrighty, Bitcoin's trading at about 35,700, staying just above the trend line. But today is not really about Bitcoin. It's not really about markets. It's about people. It's about the community. It's about how these terrible incidents in Russia and Ukraine are affecting people, the Banter family, people of Russia and Ukraine. So today, it's not going to be all about markets. It's not going to be all about making money. It's not going to be anything to do with altcoins, but it's going to be to see the catastrophic events that are taking place in the world right now. And what we did see is we saw Russia effectively declaring war on Ukraine. Here is the speech by Vladimir Putin.
Обстоятельства требуют от нас решительных и незамедлительных действий. Народные республики Донбасса обратились к России с просьбой о помощи. В связи с этим, в соответствии со статьей 51 части 7 Устава ООН, санкции Совета Федерации России и во исполнение ратифицированных Федеральным собранием 22 февраля сего года договоров о дружбе и взаимопомощи с Донецкой Народной Республикой и Луганской Народной Республикой, мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. Кто бы ни пытался помешать нам, а тем более создать угрозы для нашей страны, для нашего народа, должны знать, что ответ России будет незамедлительным и приведет вас к таким последствиям, с которыми вы в своей истории еще никогда не сталкивались. Мы готовы к любому развитию событий.
All right, that's pretty tough words from Vladimir Putin, who says that any response will be met with the greatest force that they've ever seen in history. And it does seem like the Russian forces have been preparing this for a while. I'll show you in a few seconds how prepared Russia was for this. We've also seen we've been in contact with members of our community in Ukraine, and they've echoed what we've seen on the social media feeds. And what we've seen on the social media feeds is that there have been about 203 attacks that have happened on Ukraine by Russia. There's a little map of what the attacks have looked like. And here are some videos of people actually fleeing Kiev. You can hear the sirens in the background. Those are the scenes in Kiev. We've verified that those are the scenes, speaking to our community members there. This is the traffic jam getting out of Ukraine at the moment. Tons and tons and tons of traffic. We also hear that ATMs have run out of money. Gas stations have been running out of gas. People have been trying to get withdraw money from the banks, and the banks have limited withdrawals of foreign currency. Some banks have completely stopped withdrawals of foreign currencies as people try and flee Ukraine or flee Kiev. We do see some more evidence or some more traffic jams out of Ukraine. Just to be clear, this is from a journalist at Russia Today. People lining up at gas stations.
Просто весь Московский проспект, это сторона на выезд из города, забита напрочь. Едут скорые, очень много машин. В районе Киевского Роста, в городе Харьков, также большие заторы.
So that's some of the scenes. We also saw that Russia has been attacking strategic Ukrainian targets. We saw missiles being fired at the airport. Let me show you the scenes at the airport in Ukraine. Those are scenes from the Ukrainian airport. We have seen many videos like this of
Прямо ось над котами літають, падають. Полетіли в сторону аеропорта, бомблять аеропорт, чути, що йде бій.
And more strategic targets in Ukraine being bashed. Ukrainian military bases filled with ammunition have been destroyed. Central bank said that they're going to limit the amount of withdrawals to $3,390 per person. which is probably a good argument for Bitcoin. We'll talk about that later on today. The Ukrainian central bank bans foreign exchange controls. We've had the Russian market temporarily banning short sales, and that's after the Russian stock exchange went down about 30% today, 30% decline on the Russian stock exchange. You have the Ukrainian prime minister, and the Ukrainian prime minister, he's basically calling on Ukrainians to fight, to take up arms, and to stick together to protect their beautiful nation.
The National Bank and the banks of Ukraine have all the resources necessary to secure the state's financial resources, everything to provide for the defense of Ukraine and for the interests of our people. I am grateful to all our politicians who supported Ukraine and who stand in defense of our independence. We don't have political opponents now. We are all citizens of a wonderful country, and we are stand in defense of our freedom. Be ready to support your state in the squares of your cities. We will remove sanctions on any citizens of Ukraine. The Security Council of Ukraine has decided to remove sanctions from anyone who is able to take up arms in defense of our country as part of territorial defense. This morning, dear citizens, this morning has gone down in history, but it is a different history for us and for Russia. We have severed diplomatic relations with Russia. Ukraine is defending itself and shall not cede its freedom. Whatever they might think in Moscow, to Ukrainians, independence and the right to live on our land is the highest value. Russia has attacked our state in a cunning way, is in the way that the Nazi Germany did during the Second World War. From today, our countries are on opposing sides of world history. Russia is on the path of evil, but much depends on the Russian people.
All right, so that's the Ukrainian president speaking to the Ukrainians, asking them to take up arms. Anyone who can take up arms, anyone who can fight to defend the Ukraine, he's asking them to do so. So that is what's happening in Ukraine, and effectively now the world is at war. Russia is completely at war with Ukraine. Let's see how the markets have been responding. Let's look at what the markets have done. So the first market that we'll look at is the Russian market, and what you can see that the Russian market was down 30% today. I mean, that is huge. That is huge. Let's look at the stock markets around the world. So stock markets around the world, these are the futures right now as they're trading right now. Dow Jones down 1.38%. USA down about 2% on average. If you look at the NASDAQ, about down 2%. Europe down 4%, 5%. Germany down 5%, and that's because Germany relies on Russia a lot for gas, for oil. One of their biggest trading partners for wheat, for gas, for oil. The FTSE down 3%. France down 4.26%. Poland, I think, was down about 9%. I think Poland was down about 9%. Russia down 37%. There we go. So the WIG20 is the top 20 stocks in Poland. They're down about 10%. So all in all, stock market's not performing very well. Commodities, on the other hand, well, they're doing pretty well today. So you see the gold price up almost at one point above $1,975. Silver up 3%. Platinum and palladium up 1%. Palladium up 9%. At some point. So you really are getting this tale of two cities. You're getting, on the one hand, you're getting stocks getting obliterated. On the other hand, people are saying Russia is a major exporter of commodities, specifically gold, wheat, gas, and you can see that those prices are shooting up. The result of all of this is that oil has now gone to a high not seen since 2014. So the oil price now at about $100, and the last time that we had oil at about $100 was in September 2014. So it's been a long time. And all this is going to cause inflation. All this is going to cause much more inflation. And the inflation that is going to be caused by the increase in the price of commodities is going to be serious. And that may affect the way in which the Fed takes on the way in which the Fed tackles the inflation problem. We know that before these attacks, there was a very high chance of a 50 basis point rate increase in March when the Fed meet. Now, what we're led to understand is that because of the geopolitical risks. We do not expect the FOMC we expect the FOMC to start raising rates, but only by 25 basis points. So that's what we're seeing right now. Gold is surging, and you can see that on the charts, gold is actually forming this big cup and handle, and gold looks like it's going to go into its all-time high. That's the gold all-time high, 2000, just under 2,100, 2,075, and you see that gold is printing a perfect cup and handle. It looks like it's going to continue going up. So that's the gold price. Now let's look at what Bitcoin's doing. Let's look at what Bitcoin's doing in this time. So Bitcoin not performing like gold, more correlated right now. It looks like it's much more correlated to growth stocks, or specifically to the Nasdaq. But what you're seeing is that the Bitcoin price is still just above the trend line. We broke below this trend line ever so for early on today for a few hours, but now we're ever so close to trend line, but we're just above the trend line. So Bitcoin is holding up surprisingly well. Bitcoin is holding up surprisingly well given what's going on in the world. What we're also seeing is, and I don't know if these are just reports, but we're also just seeing reports that, let me see it over here. So we're seeing reports from Taiwan Defense Ministry that 9 Chinese Air Force planes entered its air defense zone. And I mean, you got to ask yourself the question as to whether Putin and Russia and China have actually been coordinating this and saying, you know, maybe a good time is we'll invade Ukraine, and at the same time you guys can invade Taiwan. That is just speculation, but you got to ask yourself that question. You got to ask yourself what these guys are up to. In the last 24 hours, as the Bitcoin price went down and went below the trend line, we saw liquidations. We saw a whole lot of liquidations getting wrecked. We saw in the last 24 hours, we had 150,000 traders getting liquidated for a total amount of $462 million. So obviously these the liquidations coming primarily probably from retail investors. We can go and see where the liquidations are coming from. Binance, the biggest liquidations, Binance, OKEX, Bybit, and then just below that FTX. So that's pretty much what's going on in the markets. And I think what's going to happen now is that the market has to decide whether Bitcoin is going to be treated like a digital gold or whether Bitcoin is going to be treated like a growth stock. And that's going to be an interesting thing to watch. Let's look at the reactions. Let's look at the reactions of the world to what's going on in Russia and Ukraine today. So the first reaction that we had is we saw Boris Johnson coming out talking about the UK and the response. Let me find that clip for you over here. We go.
Shortly after 4 o'clock this morning, I spoke to President Zelensky of Ukraine to offer the continued support of the UK, because our worst fears have now come true and all our warnings have proved tragically accurate. President Putin of Russia has unleashed war in our European continent. He's attacked a friendly country without any provocation and without any credible excuse. Innumerable missiles and bombs have been raining down on an entirely innocent population. A vast invasion is underway by land, by sea, and by air. And this is not in the infamous phrase, some faraway country of which we know little. We have Ukrainian friends in this country, neighbors, co-workers. Ukraine is a country that for decades has enjoyed freedom and democracy and the right to choose its own destiny. We and the world cannot allow that freedom just to be snuffed out. We cannot and will not just look away. It's because we've been so alarmed in recent months at Russian intimidation that the UK became one of the first countries in Europe to send defensive weaponry to help the Ukrainians. Other allies have now done the same, and we will do what more we can in the days ahead. Today, in concert with our allies, we will agree a massive package of economic sanctions designed in time to hobble the Russian economy.
All right, so the USA and the UK threatening with more sanctions. Joe Biden is supposed to be speaking a bit later on today. We'll probably do a live stream covering the Joe Biden live stream, and we may get you guys to call in and tell us how you're feeling a bit later on today. Germany says the German economy minister has says there's no way of avoiding harm to the German economy. That's why if you look at the German markets got hit quite a bit. the German markets, the DAX was down 5.13% on that. And that is because the German economy minister Habeck says 35% of German oil comes from Russia and 55% of German gas comes from Russia. So Putin knew exactly what he was doing when he did this. And let me show you another bit of evidence that shows that Putin was really knew what he was doing with this. For the first time in many years, Russia doesn't hold any US debt. So if you look at the historical US debt held by Russia, if you look at the debt, you can see that in 2018, there was a sharp drop in the US debt held by Russia. And if Russia is currently holding the lowest amount of US debt held since 2007. So Russia was clearly planning this. This has been something that's been planned by Russia for quite a while. They're not holding any US debt, and they're very much prepared for this economic attack. One of the sanctions that was rumored was that the West would cut Russia off from SWIFT, which is the world money settlement system. But if you read the statement says UE members are reluctant to make such a move because while it would hit Russian banks hard, it would make it also tough for European creditors to get their money back from Russia. So right now, they don't think that Russia will be cut off SWIFT, but there is a chance that Russia will be cut off SWIFT. And in that case, we know that both Russia and China have been piloting their own SWIFT system, and we know that crypto and Bitcoin is becoming a secondary option. Let's look at some more reactions. So we had reaction from Vitalik Buterin, and he said this in Russian, but the translation is very upset by Putin's decision to abandon the possibility of a peaceful solution to the dispute with Ukraine and go ahead with war instead. This is a crime against the Ukrainian people and the Russian people. I wish everyone security, although I know that there will be no security. Glory to Ukraine. So Vitalik Buterin siding with Ukraine. He said even though Ethereum is neutral, well, Vitalik Buterin is not neutral. He's not neutral. He's very much with Ukraine. Gareth Soloway says that a bright spot for crypto, perhaps a glimmer, is that it's becoming a safety store. Still 90% a risk asset. Equity markets will make new lows in 2022. Bitcoin still holding above the 33,000 level. I believe it will get I still believe it will get sub 20 6 months out, but it's a good sign for long-term holders. So that's Gareth Soloway and his views. He believes Bitcoin's going sub 20. I must say, I don't believe that. Someone posted this, and I think it's quite good to look at this, but they say that Russia is holding a whole lot of oil reserves and it's holding a whole lot of gold reserves. So 2.3 metric tons, 2,300 metric tons of gold. And just the increase in the gold price increased the price of Russian gold by about $3 billion. And that excludes the Russian oil. So imagine what the Russian oil is worth at the moment. Root25 says he's not buying this dip. He says that the S&P futures are down 3%, the NASDAQ futures are down 3.43%. And he's going to wait because he thinks that when the stock market opens, the market will continue to go down. PlanB points out the break in correlation between gold and Bitcoin, which is something that we should talk about. Bitcoin is acting like a growth stock. It's not acting like a store of value. And what could happen is, or what needs to happen is the market now has Bitcoin in a moment of reckoning. Because either Bitcoin will be treated like a growth stock, or in the next couple of days, what will happen is the market will start going towards Bitcoin as a store of value. If that happens, we can expect a price in Bitcoin. If the market continues to treat Bitcoin like a growth stock, well, then we're at the mercy of how long this war is going to take and stuff like that. Then we had Sam Bankman-Fried stepping in and taking a completely different approach. And I think that this is a very, very, very smart approach. It's a long tweet thread, and you know my feeling around tweet threads, but I guess this one is probably one that we should be talking about. But Sam Bankman-Fried says, some thoughts on crypto, Ukraine, and stocks, not financial advice. And more importantly, there might be a war that's really bad for the world. Fuck all this price stuff. Go outside and do something nice for someone. Seriously, do something nice. The world could use it. I'll wait. And I think we do all get caught up in profits and losses, and we forget about the people. And I think today is really a lot about the people of Ukraine, the people of the community, and everyone that's affected by this. I know we have a big banter community in Ukraine and Russia. He says in the last days, the S&P 500 is down 4% and Bitcoin is down 8%. Why? Well, I mean, because of the obvious. It makes sense. Stocks are down. War is generally bad. What should Bitcoin be doing here? Well, on the one hand, if the world gets shittier, people have less free cash. basically selling Bitcoin along with stocks to pay for war, or to pay for the time in war when people believe or are worried for their income. On the other hand, this is likely destabilizing for Eastern Europe currencies, and more generally for the Eastern European financial systems, which means they may be looking for alternatives. Now, what we saw today, we saw the first thing is we saw that the ATMs ran out of money. We then saw that the Russian bank temporarily banned short selling. We saw the Ukrainian bank banning foreign exchange control, foreign cash controls, foreign exchange withdrawals. So we can see that when the world does go into turmoil, the first thing that they target and the first thing that stops is the financial system. On the other hand, so that is what he says. There are many arguments both ways for what should be happening to Bitcoin right now. I'm not really sure. I would have guessed it would go down based on fundamentals, but it is down a lot. Why? Well, let's say there are two types of people in the world: fundamental investors and algorithm followers. Fundamental investors look at the situation and are certain which direction BTC USD should move. Algorithm followers consult the data. Historically, what's the trend? Well, over the last year, there have been really high correlation between crypto and equities. The main reason is monetary policy. Money moves in expectations of inflation, and interest rates change USD and other fiat currencies. More inflation, crypto plus equities up versus USD. And so algorithms look at the data and decide based on the data that BTC is 80% correlated to the S&P 500. With a beta of 4, that means that for every 1% the S&P moved down, Bitcoin should move down 4%. Then war happens. Fundamental investors are neutral and maybe even positive long-term, but algorithmic investors see the S&P down 4%, so they expect Bitcoin to go down 4, which is the beta, which is the risk premium, times 4%, which is 16%, based on historical studies. There's a push and a pull with fundamental investors buying and algorithmic sellers selling. On net, BTC ends up halfway in between, down 8% in the day. So who's right? Well, Sam says, I don't know who's right. Maybe the algorithmic investors, maybe we think this is about a financial system, but actually the dominant effect is just everything selling off to fund wars. But maybe they're not. Maybe they're just basing their judgment on monetary policy moves. But this isn't a monetary policy move. So Bitcoin goes down 8%, half of the 16% that algorithmic investors predict, at which point their model updates a bit. Bitcoin went down less than 4 times today as they predicted, and a cycle begins. Maybe. Or maybe the real effect here has nothing to do with any of these. Maybe it's liquidity. If you're risk averse, maybe you're selling whatever you have right now because who knows what will happen. And markets are illiquid right now, so who's buying those volatile assets? Anyway, who knows what will happen? Anything could happen, and I don't mean to imply that I know what will happen, but I also think we're probably in a new regime than we've been in the last year and a half. We'll have to see how things work here. And again, go and do something nice for someone because the world can use it right now. So I think it's crunch time for Bitcoin. And I think that the world has now, in the next couple of days and weeks, is going to decide whether Bitcoin is a risk asset or a risk-off asset. That's what the world is going to decide. And what the world decides in the next couple of weeks and months, if this invasion continues, may be a legacy for how Bitcoin performs going forward. So if Bitcoin performs like gold, then this may be set a precedent that Bitcoin is a digital gold. This is the time when Bitcoin needs to shine. And I read some more articles which were pretty scary. It says Russia may seize citizen savings in response to Western sanctions. So if Russia does get sanctioned, we've seen this before, and Russia needs money, well, what do? Well, they start taking citizens' savings and using citizen savings to fund what they can in the face of sanctions. So that's it. It's crunch time. I think also the algorithmic stablecoins, the Lunas, the Terras, the MIMs, those are all going to be tested as well because they've also never been tested in a time like this. And I guess the big question now on everyone's mind is, well, if you are in the market now, what should you be doing? What should you be doing? That's the big question on everyone's mind. And I said to you guys earlier when we were on Sheldon's show, I said, look, we're in the peak. We're in the peak of panic. We've had an attack. People are calling the attack the beginning of World War III. And if you look at Bitcoin on a relative basis, I mean, it's doing pretty well relative. Now, every single market in the world is down. I haven't seen one market that's up other than the commodities markets, which I showed you guys a second ago. And Bitcoin is holding up relatively well. Yes, we did break below the trend line momentarily, But we're back above the trend line now, and right now Bitcoin's doing pretty well. You got the stock markets 2%, 2.5% down more or less, and this is it. This is the peak of the panic. So now now you're faced with a couple of choices. If you need money because you're worried about how you're going to survive the next couple of months, well then you probably have no option and you should be selling to recoup your money. If you don't need money for the next couple of months and you really have conviction in crypto and Bitcoin and all these protocols, then now would probably be a very bad time for you to sell, because you'd be selling into everybody else's panic. You'd be selling into the world's panic. And what history has showed us is that when wars break out, when invasions happen, that is probably the worst time to be selling. So what you have now is you have panic, you've had this invasion, you've had this big red wick over here, which is a panic wick, as you can see, and we had a very similar one over here. We had a slight recovery afterwards, and now you've got to make a decision as to whether or not you want to be selling. Right now, whereas I'm not going to sit here and tell you to buy the dip, because I don't think that's the spirit of today. I'm going to say to you guys that historically, when people have been panicking, those have been great buying opportunities. It can continue for a long period of time. This Russia Ukraine thing can continue for a period of time. This China Taiwan thing may materialize. We don't know if it's going to materialize, but right now the world is at panic. And traditionally, when the world is at panic, those have brought some amazing opportunities, and probably the worst opportunities for people to sell. So I think you got to assess your own risk profile, and you got to make a decision as to what you want to be doing. I think that's what we want to be doing. I think what we should do now is we should get the feel from the Banter family. Let's post the StreamYard link. Let's get a few calls from the Banter fam. The research team is showing me something. Okay, the Dow Jones is just open 2.44% down. Joe Biden is speaking. He's speaking in about 4 hours or something like that, right? I think let's do this. In the comments below, in the description below, there is a StreamYard link. You guys can call in. Let's talk to the Banter fam and see how you guys are feeling today. Also on my Twitter at CryptoManRun, there is a link. Go to my Twitter at CryptoManRun. Click on the link. Join the studio, come in, tell us how you're feeling, and especially if you are from Ukraine, in your name, when it asks you for your name, just put there something Ukraine. If we can get some Banter fan from Ukraine, let's take a few calls. Just before that, let's get our man, Hustle. How are you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling all right. Prayers over for the people in Ukraine, of course. Never experienced anything like that, so I can't even imagine. But otherwise, also thankful to be a part of Play to Earn in these times. Bitcoin's getting hit, the market's getting hit. But all the economies I've built up in the background are still going. So, there's pros and cons to everything. And you got to see the upsides and the downsides. But the downsides heavily outweigh everything here. So prayers up for sure.
Amazing. Okay, what is on the gaming show tonight? Is there a gaming show tonight? What are we doing on the show?
Yeah, I think it would be fun to play the new game instead of doing it on Friday. Why don't it's kind of a gloomy day. It feels like not a lot of people have good spirits today. So why don't we just play? There's this new game came out, Cyball. It's a 3v3 soccer game. So I'll probably just play that game during the show. Talk strategy, try to get some wins. Probably take some losses here and there, but we'll try to come out over 500 today, and we'll keep it lighthearted. Couple news bits, and we'll play Cyball on the show today.
Amazing, brother. We'll see you later. We'll see you in about 3 hours, right?
Yeah. Well, now if you're about to end, if we're about to do a call in, about 4 hours from now.
All righty. Let's do a call in. Let's just touch base with the Banter fam. See how the fam's doing around the world. It has been quite a tough time. Let's check in with the fam. Hassan, welcome, bro. How you doing? How you feeling?
Yeah, mate, pretty good, but same as with this conflict, I'm feeling really terrible.
Where are you from?
The Ukraine. I'm in Russia, but I'm originally from Pakistan. Yeah.
Wow. How does it feel in Russia right now? What's the mood in Russia?
Well, people are starting to convert their money into dollars, so that's pretty much is happening. Even though there's a big queues outside the banks, and I feel in like next couple of days there's gonna be no money in the ATMs as well. And also, if you want to buy dollars. So you have to pay 10 to 15% more in a bank to get the dollars.
Wow. I mean, I looked at the Russian ruble. I looked at the Russian ruble earlier. That's the Russian ruble chart against the dollar. That's on a daily scale. You can see this wick. But if you look at the Russian ruble over the last couple of months, so from November, the ruble is down 25% against the dollar. And what you're saying is that if you live in Russia today, you're actually paying a premium on top of that, right? You're paying a premium because the banks aren't going to sell you any forex. They're not going to sell you any dollars.
Yeah. So if you want to buy dollars, so you have to pay 105 ruble for $1. So if you go to TradingView, so the ruble price is 86.5 or something at the moment.
Wow. And tell me, what's the mood amongst the people of Russia? Are the people of Russia backing Putin in this attack? Are the people of Russia siding with Ukraine? What's the mood in the people there?
Well, in the beginning, people don't really care. They thought like it's just a conversation, nothing going to happen at the end of the day. But so what we really need to think about is like it's not in people's hand; it's in the government hand. So people can think whatever they want, but the decision is going to happen to the government. But in the beginning, because they have a long conflict, it's not happened first time. So Ukrainian people, they don't really like Russian people. And I know because I'm a sports person, I play here in Russia. And we have played against some of the Ukrainian clubs as well. And they have big hate against Russia. And
wow.
I'm really sorry for them. Honestly, I saw a couple of videos on Instagram and Twitter, and like old babushkas, old grandmothers, they've been hit with the missiles and they got injured. I don't think they did anything wrong with Russia. So it's such a terrible situation.
And how are you feeling about your portfolio? Are you buying? Are you holding? Are you tempted to sell?
Man, I'm here for long run. So in simple word, I see like the market after coronavirus, all that stuff. I don't care what's going to happen, even if it comes to 10K. I don't mind. I'm here for a long run. But today, I don't think it's a right time to talk about market and the stuff. I don't care. I haven't even opened my Binance or TradingView. I don't see. I don't care.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Listen, we've got time for one or two more calls. So thank you, buddy. Prayers with the Russians, prayers with the Ukrainians, buddy. Keep us updated.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. All right, let's see who else is in here. We've got Emil. Emil, where are you from, bro?
Hi, I'm from France.
Amazing. How are you feeling today?
Well, first of all, I want to send a lot of love to Ukrainians, that are European brothers, and I hope every one of your family is safe. But today I bought the dip. I mean, that's what I try to do every time market dumps more than 20% in one day. I think it's a lot of panic. And I also want to share a lot of love to the Banter fam and to say, hold on, guys, because the fundamentals didn't change. And we need to take advantage of the panic of the weak hands.
Agree. All right, Emil, thanks, buddy. We've got time for one or two more calls. Let's do this. I think his name is Jay. What is it, Jay? Oh, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute. I think you're unmuted. If you could unmute.
Jesus. My name is Jesus.
Jesus, how are you, my friend?
Good. I'm really good here.
Where are you from?
I'm happy to be here and in this show. I'm a great fan. I'm from Spain. I spoke last day with Hassel. I am Jesus Tortosa from Twitter, and it's an honor to be here. Well, here in Spain, things are better than in Ukraine, but we are trying to be calm.
Amazing. And how are you feeling today on your portfolio? Are you panicked? Are you tempted to sell?
No. I don't want to sell anything. I have a good portfolio. I am confident in what I have. I listen to your advice of changing to good fundamentals, and I am calm. Just go with this wave, and in some few months, it will be great.
Amazing. All right, we've got time for one more call. Jesus, thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. All right, I've got time for one more. Costa.
On two.
Kalimera. Can you hear us? He disconnected. All right, I've got Crypto Tiger. Crypto Tiger, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Good. Where you from, buddy?
I'm from the USA. I'm the East Coast. And basically, I wanted to get in here because I know that what's happening is terrible for Ukraine, and I pray for them. But at the same time, we have an opportunity that we only get once in a lifetime. I mean, we got one when the COVID happened. This is another great opportunity to start getting in. And to me personally, I love the launch spots that you guys have been sharing with us. And right now, the entry level for those are a great price point. So I know everything that's going on is wrong, but there's some great opportunities that we can look at to this. For these opportunities, just take advantage of them.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to see if I can take one more call. Tiger, thank you, buddy. Let's see if we've got time for one more call. Yeah, we've got time for one more call. Let's take Nick Lambert. Nick, welcome, buddy.
Hey.
Where are you from?
How are you?
Nick, where are you from, man?
From the UK.
Oh, amazing. How are you feeling today?
Very nervous, but holding.
Amazing. So you're not tempted to sell? You're not panicking at all? You're not tempted to sell, Nick?
No sell, no.
That's good.
Alrighty. All right, that's it. We're out of time for today, guys. Love you very much, the Banter fam. Wish our Ukrainian family and our Russian family, let's just hopes and prayers are with you guys. I really hope that this passes way, way, way sooner than we think, and that we get peace as soon as possible. In the meantime, if you are panicking, just step away from your laptops, step away from your phones. This is not a time to panic. I don't want to tell you guys to buy the dip, although historically that has been not a bad strategy. But you got to make your own decisions based on your risk profile. I will see you guys again tomorrow. We've got 3 shows again tomorrow. Miles is on the way to South Africa. So tomorrow he's not gonna have a show. So there's gonna be Sheldon's charting show in the morning, then my show, then we're gonna have Hustle show. So we'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, my friends.